You're so beautiful. Once again, it's another hour of Game Face. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, the Face Man himself. Today we got a special treat for you. We'll have Kyle Klober from Worldwide Sports. He'll be back, Sports Radio. He'll be back to talk a little bit of Mets, Yankees, and also this wacky World Series that we're having right now. But before we get to that, let's just do this.
Well, let me tell you that it's alright. It makes me feel so sad. It's gonna hurt so bad to see you again.
And of course, that was the legendary Little Anthony and the Imperials. And because that is pretty much the theme for a New York fan right now, sports fan, it hurts so bad. I mean, it really does. I mean, yesterday was painful. I mean, it was so painful to sit up there and watch the Giants and the Jets not even be competitive. I mean, the Giants were a little bit competitive. I mean, you thought maybe the Giants had a chance. It's unbelievable. I mean, no words can describe it. I mean, we are truly in the dark age of New York sports. It's amazing. It's totally amazing. The Knicks, they stink. They're what, 0-2, 0-3? You got our hockey teams, the Rangers. Where they're what, 3-5? They lost last night again to the Bruins. You got the Nets. They've lost twice in overtime, despite, Kyrie Irving doing what he can do. Thing about the Nets, they got to learn how to play some defense. They got to go up in the attic and find their defense. Maybe when they do that, maybe they might start winning some games. And, of course, KD is not here yet. I mean, the Devils, they stink. They're rebuilding. I mean, the Mets, they still haven't got a manager. The Yankees, they can't get out of the first or second round of the playoffs. Just can't get that pennant. I mean, it's just horrible. I mean, this is unbelievable. How did this happen? I mean, if you're a New York fan, why even bother? I mean, really? I mean, to sit up there in front of your TV and watch the garbage that's being put out by these New York franchises. And it's unacceptable. And as I said before, it all starts with the owners. From the owners choosing the wrong GMs, choosing the wrong coaches and managers. I mean, this is ridiculous. With all the revenue and the resources that these teams have here in this city, for them to put out this garbage. I mean, we got one team that's over 500? Was it the Islanders? Were they like 8-3, 7-3 or something? I think they won like 7 in a row. But do you really trust the Islanders? I mean, when was the last time the New York Islanders were actually relevant? What, back in the early 80s? When they won 4 straight Stanley Cups? I mean, how is that possible? How can you win 4 straight Stanley Cups and not be relevant since 1984? No, you can't make this up. Well, we have a great distraction right now. We're going to talk some baseball. Welcome to the show, my friend, Kyle Klober from Worldwide Sports Radio.
Hey.
Welcome to the show. Yeah, we're here, Kyle. Hey, welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for coming back. Hey, we were just talking about the disaster that's like New York sports here. It's like the dark ages of New York sports, pretty much. But let's go straight into the World Series. We'll get back to the New York teams. Let's get into this wacky World Series. Okay, so the Washington Nationals, they win the first 2 games. Everybody is shocked. They come back home. Everybody leaves the Houston Astros pretty much buried for dead. Then the Astros come back and win 3 on the road. So let me ask you, what was more shocking to you? The fact that the Nationals went in there and scored almost 20 runs, or that they came back home and they've only scored 3 runs in 27 innings?
but they haven't been able to score at home. I'm surprised they weren't able to at least win one game. I actually picked the Nationals to win at the start of the series, just with the way they've late game hit, the way they've won on the road, the way they've been able to essentially hide the deficiencies in their bullpen with the way they've played. I thought they would be able to at least win one at home. Now, I'm surprised they won both in Houston, too. I thought they'd split in Houston. But there could be a little rust with the time they had off, but that didn't happen. But again, apparently the travel day back to them hurt. And I would think with that kind of environment for a city in Washington, D.C. that has seen many different choke-prone teams with the Nationals and with a lot of their other sports, I would have thought that environment would have been very difficult. But the Astros were able to manage through it anyway.
Yeah, Altuve, Bergman, Correa, Michael Brantley. Nobody's really been hot. Like one single hitter has been hot and carried the team throughout the playoffs. But they're so good and they're so clutch. You know, when they were playing the Yankees in the ALCS, all I heard about was how good the bottom of the Yankees order was. And that would be the difference in the series. But here's the thing. The Yankees just aren't clutch. They have not proven, you know, Judge, Sanchez. First of all, I don't like the way the lineup is. I don't like their approach. But that's something to discuss later. But the Astros, I mean, these guys are so clutch. They've been there. They've won it before. And they don't depend on just one guy to carry them. You know, and I think maybe is that their strength?
Yeah, of course. I think the Astros are definitely have been like that for a while. Now, again, they're not as deep of a lineup as they were previously on their other team, their championship team, but I still think, too, though, that they have depth of guys that are coming through. Yesterday, you saw Yordan Alvarez finally hit after having a terrible postseason pretty much all year. He finally got it going. You've had flashes here and there from Gurriel, and the guys you mentioned are all bona fide stars, Springer, Correa, Altuve, and Bregman. So I think those are all definitely trustworthy options. Correa has been, I think, the most clutch, I would say, overall. Altuve's been the best overall performer, just as a whole. And then Springer's getting going now, too. Remember, Springer was the World Series MVP when they won against the Dodgers, too. So it was just only a matter of time before he heated up.
Going back to Houston, if Houston does close this out, is this more of a disappointment for Washington? Because keep in mind, they were the underdogs coming into this series. Then they go into Houston, they win these two games, they score almost 20 runs. They come back home, and like I said, everybody has Houston buried. You figure there's no way you get swept at home. Now you go back to Houston. So now if they lose this World Series, I mean, how huge of a disappointment is this?
It's not. It's not a disappointment. They weren't really supposed to be there. They were picked not even to make the playoffs by a lot of teams, a lot of people at the start of the year. A lot of people didn't even think they would be competitive. So I don't think it's a failure on any part for the Nationals. The fact that they embraced everything that they've embraced so far with this season as a whole is impressive. The fact that they took two in Houston is impressive. It's just, again, they weren't ready to necessarily celebrate in their own stadium. I don't know if it was pressure. I don't know if they were looking ahead already and maybe taking the Astros for granted and just to pitch the same way. But again, I don't really think anything the Nationals do at this point would lead it to be kind of a disappointment. I mean, I think still, even when they made the World Series, still 3/4 of the planet were picking the Astros anyway. So I don't think anything the Nationals do at this point on is a disappointment. The expectations aren't there. They are underdogs for a reason.
Yeah, if Astros do close this out, they're pretty much in that special echelon of, got themselves a little mini dynasty going on here. I tell you what, Jose Altuve, and like I said, it's been a different player, a different hitter each night. But how underrated is Jose Altuve? Because I hear so much about Mike Trout, and I love Mike Trout. I mean, I take Mike Trout in a heartbeat. Don't get it twisted, but they always say that nobody's close to Mike Trout, that he's far beyond better than any player. He's up here and everybody else is down there. But How underrated is a player like Jose Altuve?
I don't think he's really underrated. I think he is in that upper echelon. I think what everyone says with Mike Trout is realistic. Mike Trout is the best player in baseball, and he's been so consistent, barely gets hurt, and he just does everything well. Now, Altuve, I think, has been an upper echelon player for a while. Obviously, they got more hype as a result of being a championship team, being a consistent playoff team. So that helped fuel Altuve's case. Altuve has been an MVP candidate. Obviously, he won in 2017. He was the runner-up in 2016. So he's been an MVP candidate for a while. So I don't think he was really flying under the radar. So I wouldn't say underrated. He's still an upper echelon player, top 10 player in baseball. And some years he's, again, an MVP candidate. And he does everything well. There's really not a weakness in his game. Obviously, he's 5'6", so his height doesn't really help in some instances, but he hasn't stopped it from holding him back either. So there's really not much weakness in his game. The only downside with him is really the fact that he's been injured a lot lately, but that comes with age too. So I don't think he's really underrated. I just think he's, again, maybe sometimes forgotten about with the younger players that have broke out. He's always still been very good and very well-rounded player.
Let's move on here locally to the Mets, your team. So Joe Girardi being introduced as the next Phillies manager. I don't know what the hell the Mets are doing. I thought Joe Girardi would have been a perfect candidate. He wanted to manage for the Mets. It would have been a good way for the Mets and Girardi to stick it to the Yankees. I don't understand what the Mets thinking. They can. I just don't know if they're trying to get to the next level. If they're trying to make the playoffs and get back to the World Series, why wouldn't you hire a guy like Joe Girardi? Eduardo Perez, the coach, the bench coach for Milwaukee. What's his name? Murphy. He's been mentioned. Carlos Beltran. Where do you think the Mets are going to go?
I think just because he was a Met for a pretty long time, I feel like Carlos Beltran will be the guy. Which, if you want to judge the inexperienced managers, I don't think he would be a bad manager by any stretch, because I do think he has a lot of connections with players across the league. He obviously had a long major league career. I think 15 years in the league. So I think he definitely would work. Obviously, the Mets have a lot of international players, Spanish-born players that he could definitely connect with. And obviously, with the exception of the looking at strike three call, I think the fans have still embraced him as a whole too. So I think that would work in some instances. I think he actually would be a pretty good manager if he were to come. In terms of the bench coaches, I've heard the Brewers guy, like you mentioned. I've heard the Twins guy still as a big running, and that might work too. We saw it work with Alex Cora coming from the Astros and the Red Sox. The Red Sox former bench coach Torey Lovullo has done a nice job with the Diamondbacks, who on paper aren't really that good of a team, and yet they've stayed afloat in many different instances. They made the playoffs in 2017. So a bench coach epidemic is not really a bad thing necessarily either. Now, you're right. I would have wanted them to try to target Girardi, but at the same time, I knew with the Wilpons being the cheap middling Wilpons that they are, it doesn't surprise me that they didn't either. So I didn't really have high expectations for them getting him. You're right. It would have been funny to stick it to the Yankees like that and having him potentially gain a second life in New York kind of thing. But I kind of figured the Wilpons wouldn't do it. It's just annoying that they ended up going to the Phillies now. It'll be interesting to see how that works, but for a team that was very poorly managed, in my opinion, with Gabe Kapler, especially in the second half of the season,
right,
the last 2 years, Girardi will definitely be a big boost to them, and that's what concerns me as a Mets fan, already in a division with our current National League champions, the Washington Nationals, and the Atlanta Braves, who, after the Dodgers, I think have the second best roster in the National League.
Yeah, I really think the Mets just really missed out. I just don't understand. I'll tell you, Girardi would love to stick it to the Yankees. We right across the bridge. He would love to stay. I mean, could you imagine these games? You know what I'm saying? Oh my God. I mean, just the Yankees playing in Citi Field, and then the Mets coming to Yankee Stadium, and Joe coming out and making a pitching change. And I mean, these interleague games would be. I mean, the Mets really, really missed the boat here, I think. Tell me about Noah Syndergaard and Zach Wheeler. Will they still be pitching for the Mets next year?
Wheeler's a free agent this season, so I really doubt that. I think I was one of the people that wanted him to be moved in the off season after that dynamic second half he had in 2018. So they kept him around. He kind of digressed a little, so I really don't see him coming back. Obviously, like I said, the Mets don't pay anybody, so they'll try to find a cheaper option to plug in or another veteran starter that'll plug in. Syndergaard is interesting because he is somebody that has a very peculiar market. He is a very talented pitcher. He has 5 pitches that he's utilized, and whether he utilizes them well or not is something we see season to season, even start to start. That's why he's had some consistency issues lately. But at the same time, the upside, the stuff that he has is really good. My problem with Syndergaard is sometimes he ends up being more of a thrower and less of a pitcher lately, where he's been erratic at times. He's had control issues. He's had issues allowing home runs. So that is something that a team could be looking at and maybe diminish the value as a result. So it really is a very interesting market. I would have thought that he would have gotten moved in the off season rather than at the trade deadline, because I think that the outlook for a gamble like going for Syndergaard, because it is a gamble with his injury issues and inconsistencies, but at the same time, the urgency could be spawned for a team needing a starting pitcher with the trade deadline, if you know your competitors or not, because there's a lot of fringe teams every year. There's teams that drop off all the time. That somebody, if they end up getting Noah Syndergaard, it could backfire if they need other things later on. So it's a peculiar market with him. I do think he will end up getting traded in the off season. The question is, will they actually do it right? Because I always worry the Mets, they tend to sell short a lot.
Mm-hmm. I tell you what else is interesting? Are we going to see Yoenis Cespedes maybe next year? Will there be a sighting for him in in 2020? I tell you what, if you put him in that lineup, okay, and he's Cespedes, and then you got McNeil, and then you got, Alonso. That's a pretty formidable lineup. And I love McNeil. McNeil is like my favorite player on the Mets because I like that. That's old school. The contact, high average hitter, which nobody values anymore in baseball. Everybody's about hitting the long ball and striking out, so which we both know is utter nonsense. But I love Jeff McNeil. And sometimes he drives me crazy with runners on base. Sometimes he swings at the first pitch that drives me nuts. But yeah, Jeff McNeil, Cespedes, Rosario. I can see the Mets. There's no reason why the Mets can't succeed. It's just based on who is running the ship. So, we're all wondering and anticipating who's going to be the next skipper. Let's move on to the Yankees. Brian Cashman, real quick before we end it. I'll let you know right now, I'm not a big Brian Cashman fan. I never was. I feel like Gene Michael doesn't get enough credit for those championship teams he built in the late 90s and early 2000s. Brian Cashman was sort of parachuted into, a very good spot. The framework of those teams were already built. If the Yankees don't make the World Series next year, is Brian Cashman on the hot seat?
It's interesting because I think Brian Cashman, while he might be remembered for being a part of those teams and building those 90s teams the way it was, what has impressed me, obviously, is he's been able to use that approach again and do it again. Because remember, there was a phase in between that, the homegrown core four Yankees, and then there was the Yankees that seemed to spend George Steinbrenner crazy money. So there was a phase in between that, and then they got away from it. And Brian Cashman, I think, deserves a lot of credit for having him succeed even in those times. Whether they were a playoff team or not, because they weren't the whole time. 2014, they weren't. 2013, years like that, they weren't. But the trades, the way he evaluates players, how tough he can be sometimes when it comes to working with other GMs, he does a lot of things right. And you got to look at the way this year has gone. A lot of the injuries that they had and all the players he was able to find to fill those voids, Gio Urshela, Mike Ford, Mike Tuchman, guys like that, Luke Voigt last year when he was kind of the up-and-down hitter with the Cardinals. So I think the gems that he's found, even Didi in the past, remember, Didi Gregorius with the Diamondbacks was a seven-hitter that was known for his defense type of guy and nothing else. He was in the league already, I think, for 3 or 4 years, and he still didn't get his hitting going. Aaron Hicks, the same thing with the Twins. A good prospect, but really only got it going defensively. So I think Cashman does deserve a lot of credit for that. So I think he could definitely be a little strong. Now, when he came out in his press conference that he has no regrets, I wouldn't go that far just because the team still didn't. Well, they did progress from 2018. They still didn't get that final obstacle, which is beating the Astros and getting to the World Series. So I wouldn't say they have no regrets. I've always been an advocate for them since the 2018 trade deadline to go after Madison Bumgarner. I think that would just be something very ideal with the postseason prowess that he has. So the fact that Brian Cashman maybe hasn't heated up as much as he should have for starting pitching can look bad on him, but at the same time, it could also be the other team is maybe either asking too much or the Giants, like I said with the Giants, they decided to ride a hot streak, which for a team that they were structured around, I knew would end eventually, and it would end up backfiring, and now they're going to get nothing for Bumgarner. So the Yankees do need a starting pitcher for sure. I think that's where his criticism lies. The question is, if he didn't have everything else that was good for him, where would they be as well? Because those injuries that they had were historic amounts, and if those overperformers that I mentioned didn't play as well as they did, they might have been looking at another wild card appearance with Tampa winning the division. And the Yankees definitely don't want to go through that again. So it's a two-front battle with Cashman. Really, I do think he needs to target the starting pitching as much as he can, but at the same time, it's also, I think the positives still kind of outweigh the negatives, where I can't say he's hot seat type because I still think he's one of the better GMs in baseball.
Hey, look, it's been a drought. I know you're a Met fan, so the Yankees, we sort of look at things a little differently. This is the first time, this is actually history. This is the first time that the New York Yankees have not won a pennant in a century. Did you know that? For the first time in a decade?
Yes.
This is the first time, and it's under his watch. So, 2009, okay, he went out and he got CeCe Sabathia. He threw the most money. He got A.J. Burnett. Okay, fine. But even going back from there, the last time they won, I hate to bring it up, is when they beat the Mets, and that was almost a decade before that. So if you look at the last 20 years, and the Yankees have 2 World Series. George Steinbrenner must be churning in his grave right now. I know he is. This is it's just unacceptable for me. And I know a whole lot of Yankee fans, but I know he's real close with Hal Steinbrenner. They're like family now. He's been there for so long, I just feel like if the Yankees don't make it to the World Series, he could have traded Miguel Andujar and Clint Frazier and gotten Cole. He could have done that. Okay, and then he let Houston sneak up right underneath him, and they got him for less. So, I understand it's the Yankees. Everybody wants the stadium, the mortgage, and all that. But if you're the best GM in baseball, you got to find a way to make to get a pitcher. So, thanks a lot, Kyle. This is good stuff. Good as always. I appreciate you being on the show, man.
Yep. Thank you for having me.
We can follow you on Twitter at WWSRN_radio, and your personal email is at 2K, was it 2KG?
2K G-Men Rule
G-Man
1080.
1080. Okay. Thanks a lot, Kyle.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. So that was Kyle Klauber, and hey, look, he's a Met guy. He's great. Love him. He knows his stuff. He doesn't look at it like us Yankee fans look at things. Okay, and it's been a decade since the Yankees have even been in the World Series. With all that revenue, with all that money they've been spending, with a top number 2 farm system the last 2 years, not counting this year because a lot of the players have come up. They've made the team, of course, like Gleyber Torres, Clint Frazier, Miguel Andujar, those guys. But, it's no excuse. There's no excuse. He's being out-GM'd by, the GM in Houston. Washington, they're making the World Series. The Kansas City Royals, they've been in back-to-back World Series. If this guy's supposed to be the best GM in baseball, you got to get it done. The Yankees have too many resources. And they actually print money. You got Yankee water. You go around the city here in New York. Well, I'm in Jersey now. But if you go into New York and you go into the supermarket, you see Yankee water. They actually have Yankee water, people. Okay? Yankee beer that they sell in the supermarket. Call them pinstripe pills. Okay? They got steakhouses all up and down Midtown Manhattan. They got Yankee club stores. And the Yankees print money. They have incredible revenue and resources. And for them not to be able to figure this out, it's just, and the prices that they charge to go into that stadium, which is a mall. That stadium is not a stadium, it's a mall. Okay? They got everything. It's just unacceptable. And you just wonder when Hal Steinbrenner is going to sit there and say, you know what, Brian, we love you, but, we got to win a World Series. We got to even get to a World Series. So, be interesting, though. Now, he thinks that Washington is not going to be any effect because they shouldn't have been there. They were underdogs. I kind of disagree with that. You were up 2-0 in the World Series and you were coming home, and you only had to face Garrett Cole in Game 5. So you didn't have to face Verlander, and then you faced, the Houston bullpen? You got to get it done. I'm sorry. I am sorry. You have got to get it done. Anibal Sanchez, Corbin. You got to get it done. You have to get it done. So to me, I don't know. I don't know about that. Because you cannot tell me right now that the Washington National fans did not think 3 days ago that they would be soon holding up or looking at a World Series banner, holding up a World Series banner or trophy or whatever. You can't tell me that. You cannot tell me as a Washington Nationals fan that you did not think that they were going to bring it home. You can't. Not up 2-0. Scored 17 runs on the road. Now you're coming back home. No Verlander. Garrett Cole, once in Game 5. Zach Greinke, you couldn't hit him. You see him all the time in the National League when he was in the National League. It is amazing. This has been a wacky World Series. Very, very wacky World Series. So we're at 12:30 now. We got a half an hour to go. And, of course, we'll talk about, once again, we'll go back to this dark place. Can I hear a little Anthony one more time, Marv, DJ Marv? I just, because we got to do this. You see I'm all dressed in black. I wear a lot of black anyway. So I'm just chic like that. But,
Well, let me tell you that it's so bad. It makes me feel so sad. It's gonna hurt so bad to see you again.
I tell you what, when the Giants and the Jets and the Knicks and the New York teams and the Rangers and the Guardian, when they all come out, when they're like introduced, this should be the theme song. This should be the theme song. Right before the national anthem. Just play this. It hurts so bad. Because that's what we're in for. Every fan that's in attendance, every fan that's watching at home, that's what you're in for. A hurting. Okay? A big time hurting. So, quick thing on the Knicks before I get into the football, which was the disaster. That's the Giants and the Jets. We talked about the Nets. The Knicks also, they got to go in the attic and find their defense. Barrett has looked very good. AJ Barrett, he's looked very good. Now, I think he had, 27 points in the loss to Boston. But the Knicks, look, the booing of Dennis Smith Jr., look, he had it coming. He had it coming. I said this last year. He looks like a player that's just uncoachable. Dennis Smith Jr., point guard for the Knicks. He just looks so uncoachable. His attitude, his demeanor. Now, the talent is there. Make no mistake. The talent is there. But I just don't like his body language. I don't like his body language. And he needs to work on his jumper. He's supposed to be working on his jumper all summer. Okay? He must have left it wherever he was vacationing at or working at. He must have left it there. Because he's the king of hitting the front of the rim. I'll tell you that. All right? He is the king of that. I mean, he couldn't hit the ocean if he fell off the side of a boat in the Atlantic. I mean, that's how bad his shooting is. Okay? And for a point guard, you have to be able to shoot at least a medium range jumper. And when you go to the foul line, you have to be able to make your free throws. You have to. You have to shoot at least 70% or 75% from the free throw line, at least. I mean, you're the point guard. I mean, come on. But his body language, I saw it last year. I just didn't like what I saw. And the talent is there. You know, he's very athletic. You know, he can be fiery. You know, he could get in your face. He's very spirited. But, you know, when he got booed last night, he came in playing like straight garbage, you know, and then you're sitting on the end of the bench away from the rest of the team. I mean, you got the fans calling for Frank Ntilikina? Really? You must be playing pretty darn bad when you got Knicks fans calling for him. All right. This is up to me. He'd be gone. He'd been long gone. Already got his bags packed and go back to France. I know it's cold, but am I lying? I mean, come on. Come on. So, but the Knicks, once again, searching for their first win. So let's now move on to the NFL and talk about the Giants. First, we'll start with the Giants. The positive. Look, I say positive because compared to the Jets, they have to be a little bit positive. The scale has to be pushed to the positive side a little bit. So comparing them to the Jets, you know, the Giants were a little bit positive, but still the same old. I mean, the defense is horrible. They can't get off the field on third down. Lack of a pass rush. You know, you got safeties and cornerbacks churned completely around. But just a bit on the flea flicker. I mean, just terrible. That was just so embarrassing. That was an embarrassing performance by that defense yesterday. I mean, who are we kidding here? Who are we kidding? All right. And the guys that the Giants have drafted, the players, B.J. Hill, Lorenzo Carter. Please, enough with the Lorenzo Carter, okay? Enough. I'm done with Lorenzo Carter, okay? All I've heard for the last 2.5 years, Lorenzo Carter this, and he's going to be this ultimate pass rusher, and then they're grooming him, this and that. Is he even on the field? Really? Is Carter's name even, is he even on the field? Do they even call his name? But all I got to hear about is the potential of Carter. Carter this, Carter that. What about B.J. Hill? Does he make any plays? All these guys were drafted near the top of the draft in the first 3 or 4 rounds. They don't make any plays. Either they're not that good, people. They're not that good, Giant fans. Or The coaching staff has no idea what they're doing. Either they're not preparing these players, or they're just not that good. Either way, it's not good. It's just not good. You know, the only positive thing about that game yesterday was Daniel Jones. He made one bad play. Second play of the game. Second play, the backwards pass. Saquon Barkley owned it and said, "Hey, look, I should have went after it. I thought it was an incomplete pass." Barkley is the least of their problems. Okay, I mean, Saquon Barkley is, I actually thought he wasn't getting the ball enough in the first half. They changed it up a little bit in the second, third, and fourth quarters. They started handing him the ball, trying to establish a run game. But once again, the offensive line, where were the holes? Every time Barkley got the ball, you saw him jiggle back and forth. There were no holes. That offensive line did a terrible job run blocking. Wasn't bad pass blocking yesterday. Wasn't bad. Got a little better. Except for one left tackle. I'll get to him in a couple of seconds. But their run blocking, I mean, they have to do a better job. They have to. And I know they got Snacks Harrison, Detroit on the other side, clogging up the middle. But you have to be able to create some holes. As good as Barkley is, all you have to do is give him the slightest light. If you give him the slightest light, he's gone. He's gone. Big play. Play action. Now we take more pressure off the quarterback, off your rookie quarterback. I mean, they're just not good. And now we got the kicker, Rosas, who was a Pro Bowl kicker last year. And, this is his second straight bad week. Last week he missed a field goal, chip shot. This week he misses an extra point. Then the onside kick at the end of the game, he kicks it out of bounds. You can't do that. And what ticks me off about it is he stands there laughing, giggling, like, it's not a big... What do you think you're doing? I mean, this team is just poorly coached. Their IQ is just terrible. Their sports IQ is terrible. They're always out of position. And the defense hardly makes plays. And even when the defense does make a play here and there, it's once in a blue moon, the offense turns it back over. Like what happened yesterday, when Rabbit picked off Stafford. And then, of course, you had to churn over the backwards pass that was turned into a touchdown, recovered, and ran into the end zone by Detroit. I mean, nothing good is happening. And that's what happens when you're a bad team. You just don't seem to get the breaks. You make a big play, there's a flag. There's holding. Illegal formation. I mean, anything that works. And we've talked about penalties on this show before. I mean, you can't even hike the ball without a flag being thrown. The minute you hike the ball, there's going to be a flag thrown. But what makes it so much, I mean, it's just what really makes it disheartening and what really gets you angry is that they're being outcoached as well. It's not just the players, it's the coaching. They're being outcoached. Detroit was purposely kicking short of the end zone because they wanted the Giants to run the ball out. They wanted the Giants to run the ball out so they can get tackled immediately, so they can trap or position that young rookie quarterback inside the 10-yard line. You know how loud that stadium is in Detroit. And they call it the Thunderdome. So they were doing that on purpose. Matt Patricia, he was doing that. He had his kicking team do that on purpose. And yet they still couldn't make any adjustments. Pat Shurmur still couldn't make any adjustments. They say, okay, well, why don't we just let it bounce into the end zone and take the ball at the 25? That way Jones and the offense, now they have some room to maneuver. But they couldn't even figure that out. I mean, they're just being outcoached, outplayed, outclassed. I mean, just, oh, God. I mean, but they and Michael Thomas, I mean, all I saw was their backs. The back of their numbers yesterday on plays down the field. Big play after big play. Daniel Jones, like I said, he made the bad play, the turnover, the backwards pass, but he came back. He battled back. 3 touchdowns, over 300 yards passing. I mean, he had a good game, a very good game. You know? I mean, too bad he doesn't have a good coach, head coach, or a good play caller. I mean, because the potential is there. You can see it with him. And him and Darius Slayton, they got something special going. 2 rookies. I mean, that second touchdown catch that Slayton made that was a beautiful catch. Beautiful play. So there's talent there. You got Slayton. You got Shepard, who's out right now. Concussion protocol. Maybe he'll be back next week against Dallas. You got Evan Ingram, a willing blocker. You got Ellison, who's not bad at receiving and blocking. And you got Barkley. I mean, the Giants' skill set position is not bad. They have talent there. Despite letting Beckham leave. Whose team, by the way, has the same record as the Giants, by the way. Odell Beckham. Talked all that crap about finally being with a real team and a real quarterback. I don't hear Odell saying anything now. After the Patriots took him out to the woodshed yesterday. The whole thing with the Giants. And, John Mara has got, look, John Mara's got to do something. Now, Pat Shurmur is probably, more than likely, he's going to keep his job because you're playing a rookie quarterback. So he has that as an excuse. I'm developing a rookie quarterback. We weren't trying to win this year. We're rebuilding. We're developing this quarterback. So he's going to have another year. But hopefully not 2. Hopefully not 2, because he's clueless. And I have no faith in him at all. So let's cut the ball. And I think the majority of the Giant fans agree with me. He's not the answer. And this is something that John Mara, the owner of the Giants, has got to look in the mirror and address. Where's this team going with this coach? Because the guy is clueless. There's just a feel. You can tell, regardless of wins or losses, whether a coach has it, whether he can reach his team. And I just don't see it with Pat Shurmur. Like Mike Francesa, the great Mike Francesa said, he's been a loser his whole life. It's the truth. He's never won anything. So the Maras, they have got to figure this out and save this franchise. Because right now, it's not good. You don't want to waste young talent like Saquon Barkley and Ingram, Slayton, and Shepard. You don't want to waste them. And they've got to rebuild this defense. They have got to. And I say this every season for the last 4 seasons or 5. The Giants have to get a pass rush. This is the reason why they can't get off the field on 3rd down. It doesn't matter what they do on 1st down. It doesn't matter what you do on 2nd down. If the quarterback has all day to throw and sit in the pocket and get the ball downfield, what does it matter? And those 3rd down conversions are huge backbreakers for any team and any fan. They have to get a pass rusher. Maybe the Giants win 2 or 3 more games. Maybe they end up with 5 wins. Maybe they'll get another lottery pick. Maybe they'll pick in the top 10, top 12. A lot of teams are going to be looking for quarterbacks. I can think at least 3 or 4 right now. So there's going to be a lot of talent sliding down. They have to get a pass rush. They have to. If they don't get a pass rush, enough with the cornerbacks. If they want to trade Janoris Jenkins, let him go. Let him go. Get back a 3rd or 4th rounder. Because that's probably the most you're going to get for him anyway. Let him go. Now, there's this rumor that I've been seeing, and it's been floating around here. I was looking at my phone. Now, there's this rumor going around that the trade deadline is tomorrow, that the Giants would be actually interested in Leonard Williams of the Jets. Are you kidding me? Really? So you want Leonard Williams? The Jets are trying to get rid of Leonard Williams. They're not going anywhere. They stink worse than the Giants. Just a little bit more. Two very bad smells. You ever had two very bad smells? And you say, oh, God, that smells. Ooh, that stinks. And then this, ooh, this one is ooh, open. That's the Jets. They both stink. So the Jets are trying to dump off Leonard Williams, who makes no plays whatsoever, who pulls a Houdini during the game. The greatest Houdini act ever, Leonard Williams. And now you want to bring him to the Giants. I mean, it's like the blind leading the blind, people. It really is. You tell me. That's not the blind leading the blind? It's just unbelievable. I mean, you can't make this up. So let's get into the Jets real quick. There's no more avoiding this. Look, Gase, from his press conference, and I've said this before on this show, I've said it on my website, online, on Twitter, on Facebook, the Jets were making a huge mistake signing this guy. Huge mistake. He failed in Miami. They hated him in Miami. The coaches, the players, the owner. And for the Jets, for Chris Johnson, the owner of the Jets, once again, it falls on the owner. To throw aside Mike McCarthy after he left Green Bay, who won the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers, and since him and Aaron Rodgers didn't get along anymore, they decided to badmouth Mike McCarthy to make sure, or sabotage, to make sure that he didn't get this Jet job or any other job. For Chris Johnson and the Jets organization to fall for that and let Mike McCarthy walk out of that building and bring in this sideshow act is a disgrace. It is a crime against sports. That's what it is. It is a crime against sports. It is a crime against Jet fans. It is a crime against New York. This guy is completely clueless. Everything I said about the Giants and Pat Shurmur, you could check it twice. But Sam Gase, this guy is completely clueless. He's supposed to be the quarterback whisperer. He's supposed to be a quarterback expert. He is supposed to take Sam Darnold to the next level. Sam Darnold is regressing in front of all of us. We're seeing it. Everybody can see it. He's regressing. Okay? And I don't want to hear anything about I see ghosts and all that crap, which is stupid. Okay? Everything is a clutch the pearls moment on social media now. Who cares? Who gives a crap about what he said on the field? The bottom line is he has potential, incredible potential. He can make every throw. He's a tough kid, regardless of what you say about the quotes or what he said about, the seeing ghosts or whatever. Once again, you don't want to waste this guy's potential. Not when he's young like this. You don't want to waste it. And Sam Gase is, I'm sorry. Gase is just, I mean, it's a disgrace. I mean, I've come on this show and I have ripped the Jets, the dark green cloud, and I mean, I don't know what more I can say. I mean, they made the Jacksonville Jaguars look like the freaking 85 Bears. I mean, they look like the 89 49ers. I mean, they made Minshew look like Joe Montana. Once again, same problem with the Giants. You got players out of place, missing tackles. Jacksonville puts the ball on the ground 2 or 3 times. They can't recover it. Ball is right there, just rolling around. Roll for like 11 yards. Jets can't recover it. It's like the Keystone Cops. Where's the owner? I mean, at least the owner of the Atlanta Falcons, at least he's owned up to it. At least he made a public statement and said, my God, my team stinks. I apologize. I'm sorry. We're going to evaluate this, and we're going to make some changes. I apologize to the fans. Where are the Johnsons? Are they even watching this? I mean, are they even aware of this debacle? But no, Woody's somewhere being an ambassador for Trump, for England, rather than paying attention to his damn team. And that's the problem here in New York. This dark age of sports. We have owners. I've said this before. We have owners that care more about making money, how much they're pulling in at the gate, and their other interests and their other hobbies, instead of doing what they can, paying attention to their team and putting the right people, the right GMs, the right coaches in place. It's like they have teams just to have a team because it's just a thing to do. I think the Maras are out of date. I think he might be past his prime. I think the game has passed him. John Mara, as far as evaluating talent. The Johnsons, they're just clueless and incompetent. And I don't think they really care. I don't think they give a damn. The Steinbrenners, they're too damn loyal. They're loyal to Brian Cashman. And once again, they're money hungry. As long as the Yankees are selling out and making money, who cares if they come short of a World Series? But one of the worst ones, the worst out of all this people, the worst in New York City, is that guy in the Garden, Mr. James Dolan, who emphatically said, I'm not selling this team. I don't care how many of you hate me. I don't care how many of you despise me. I am not selling the New York Knicks. And as long as he's running the New York Knicks, the Knicks are never going to win. The last time the Knicks won a championship, people, we weren't even born. Me and Marvin, we weren't even here. That's the last time the Knicks won a championship. The 72-73 season. That was the last time. They've been in 2 finals since then. Madison Square Garden. Supposed to be the mecca of sports. It's not anymore. You can't sit there and tell me Madison Square Garden is the mecca of sports. Really? Because it's in New York? So because it's in New York now, it's the mecca of sports? It used to be the mecca when the Knicks were winning. When you had prize fights like Muhammad Ali and Ken Norton. Tennis matches. I mean, this is a total disgrace. And the only way, New Yorkers, the only way for any of you that are watching this, once again, I thank you again for hanging in there and putting up with my tantrum. But I'm passionate and I care. And the only way, you need to stop going to these games. I'm telling you, stop going to these games. Because the only thing that they understand is green. And that'll get their attention. Green will get their attention. Look at those gates. When those gates start coming short, we're going to have to re-examine this. Money talks. And BS, you know. But we're not going to do that, are we? I can see the Met fan. Yankee fan, I've seen a few empty seats in Yankee Stadium, especially in those front rows, those box seats, those luxury seats or whatever. If the Yankees became just a 500 team and below, I could see it. Yankee fans will do it. The loyal fans are the Ranger fans and the Jet fans. Ranger fans, the hockey team, they are loyal to a T. Ranger fans, they'll show up. Jet fans, they'll show up and just to cause havoc because they're rowdy anyway. So they'll find a way to have a good time. But they will boo and let you know. Giant fans, a little bit more, I don't want to say white collar, corporate. But the Giant fans, they'll let you know too. They'll boo you in a heartbeat. So stop going to the games. Start bringing some signs, if they allow you to, you know. I know they've changed the rule now, like, you know, fans can no longer bring in signs or whatever because we live in a politically correct, you know, world now. Everything's offensive. But I'm telling you, those season tickets, those PSLs, I'm telling you, stop it and see what happens. You see what happens. I mean, this is a disgrace. I mean, I look up north to Boston, they're having a golden age of sports. The Red Sox, the Patriots, the Celtics, the Bruins. Every time you look around, they're in the playoffs or they're in the finals. Every time. I look south of me, even in Philly. In PA, in Philly, Villanova has won a national championship. The freaking Eagles, who I used to call lifetime Lugers, even they've won a Super Bowl. You got the Sixers, one of the most talented young teams in the NBA. They could be in the finals. There's hope. There's stars. There's winning. But not here in New York. Not here in New York. That'll be our time. Thank you for joining. And like I always say, keep your game face. It's your boy Face, and I'm out.